president wants to spy on 200 million Americans without a warrant. Has he read this document, which he was sworn to uphold?
Now, I will not have you libel Abraham Lincoln.
I don't understand the problem with registering guns. We register cars.
Mark Levine brings you the news the government doesn't want you to know.
Today, an explosive story about connections between white supremacists and Islamic terrorists.
When there's a conflict between Scalia's conservative values and the Constitution of the United States, he throws away the Constitution.
When we do have secret prisons, that is not what America's all about.
Let's go to Mark in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Inside Scoop. I am here because there's an election Tuesday, January 21st. Did you know that? This Tuesday? Coming up, there's an election. It's an election that will determine, I know Senator Miller knows this, but maybe you didn't know this. This election will determine who controls the Virginia State Senate. Will it be Democrats or Republicans? That's how important this election is. And to voters in Loudoun County and Fairfax County, it will be up to you to decide who controls Virginia's Senate. And so we're going to talk about why that's so important and why you should go out there and vote for Jennifer Wexton. She's a Democrat running, and this is all to fill Mark Herring's seat. You now know Mark Herring has been elected Attorney General. If you were in Herring's district, you've got to get out and vote. Your vote will be more important here, dare I say, than a presidential election or a congressional election. Because in those elections, well, you're one of many, many people voting. The last special election for a state senator was decided by 9 votes. And you know what? They're fighting over it now.
Yeah, right.
Every vote counts. There was a 14% turnout. Your vote will determine who controls Virginia's future. Will it help the new governor, Terry McAuliffe, do the things he wants to do, or will it be a Republican agenda? Your vote will decide. So let me introduce my very esteemed guest. Again, Senator Miller, I apologize for being a little out of breath and running late. Things happen, but it really is my esteemed honor to have you right here on the Inside Scoop.
Well, thank you.
You were the first, I believe, woman senator in Virginia, in Northern Virginia.
In Northern Virginia.
In Northern Virginia. You were elected back in 1987.
Yes.
And served for how many years?
Just 4 years. I put in a bill to allow women at Virginia Military Institute, and that kind of was not going well with the VMI alumni, and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to defeat me. But the United States Supreme Court agreed with me, and now women go to VMI.
I was going to say, today, that's not even seen as controversial.
I know.
But in your day, that would have been the progressive thing.
That was 91.
That really wasn't that long ago. That was just 20 years ago.
Right.
So you're here to endorse Jennifer Wexton.
Right.
Tell the people here who may not know who she is, who is she, why is she running for state senator?
Well, Jennifer is a lawyer. She's a wife, mother of 2. She was a special prosecutor. If you've seen her TV ad, she talks about, working to convict criminals. Particularly, she had 2 high-profile murder cases, but she also did misdemeanors. She did felonies. She was a special assistant in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office in Loudoun County. She's also been a substitute judge.
So she's a prosecutor, basically.
Prosecutor, but a lawyer. She's also
criminals behind bars.
She's done a lot of other things like doing pro bono work. She's been a guardian ad litem for at-risk children.
Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. That's a lawyer that represents children. So basically, you've got a child that's been abused, and they can't be represented by their parents who've done the abuse. So she's been hired to represent the children then.
That's right, and sometimes she does it pro bono, so she's not always being
Meaning without pay.
Without pay.
Which is pretty amazing, really, because those cases are a lot of work. They're a lot of hard work.
Oh, yes, they really are. And, lawyers don't get enough credit for doing that. And she took that on. And as I said, she has 2 children, young children. So I know she has she wants to help children. And I think that's important because many times, there are issues in the General Assembly dealing with children that never get enough press or publicity. So she's going to deal with the top issues, but there are other issues she cares about that we sometimes do not.
Well, let's talk about those. What are the issues which Jennifer Wexton could make a difference if she's elected this Tuesday, January 21st?
Well, before I go into the usual ones like transportation and education, the economy and all of that, there's one issue that has come to the forefront that just now is getting the attention it should. And when I was in the Senate, it was one of the issues that I grabbed hold of, and it is mental health. And as we know now, because of Senator Creed-Deeds' son, that all of a sudden people are saying we need to do more in the field of mental health. We need to do more, with the Community Services Board. Jennifer,
what is the Community Services
Community Services Board there are 40 in the Commonwealth, and they are in different areas of the state. The state is the Commonwealth, excuse me, this is a Commonwealth, not a state.
That's true.
I was on the Fairfax Falls Church Community Services Board, and they deal with the issues in the community of mental health, mental retardation, and substance abuse.
So how do they deal with those issues?
They have a budget where they can have services in the community, like group homes, like helping with different functions that people who have those types of problems.
So, for example, we know that mentally ill people need help for themselves,
right.
And we also know that sometimes people are so mentally ill they actually cause violence. We've seen that in Virginia, both with Senator Deeds, but also Virginia Tech famously was a person in need of mental health care. What is something that Jennifer can do, has proposed to do, to make things better for people with mental health problems?
Well, first of all, she understands the problem. Again, the community services boards do services in the community. We had institutions in Virginia that took care of all the people. They were put away, the mentally ill, the mentally retarded. Now the federal government has said, you got to shut them all down, all the institutions.
Really?
So oh yeah.
Why is that?
There was a federal case, and the judge decided, the federal judge in Virginia had to agree. The Northern Virginia Training Center, which has been a big issue in the papers lately, where they have the extreme mentally retarded citizens, they have to close down. Now, all of these citizens are going to be coming into the community and are going to be under the community services boards. So you need someone who understands this problem.
And of course, she's worked in the legal system.
Right.
She's worked with children. She knows.
And you need the funding. And let me tell you, when I was in the Senate, because I had served on the State Board of Mental Health, Mental Retardation, Substance Abuse, and on the Community Services Board, I had tried to make mental health and mental retardation one of the issues. But the General Assembly members, some of them did, but many of them did not understand the issues. And they thought we were throwing money away. Let's put people in institutions. And so it was not a sexy subject, as I was told, to be for and to, be a champion of.
It's interesting because when the Virginia Tech massacre occurred, a number of Virginians talked about basically some kind of regulation for guns. There was a one gun a month idea. There was the idea.
We did have one gun a month.
We did, until the Republicans got rid of it. There was the idea that mentally ill people should not get guns. That someone who thinks that they're hearing voices and someone is out to kill them maybe shouldn't have control of a semi-automatic machine gun. And the Republicans at that time said, we don't want to regulate guns. We want to make sure that the mentally ill can get guns. We want to make sure that insane people can get guns, that terrorists can get guns. And the problem is not with the guns. Everybody should have a gun. Every child, every insane person should have a gun. But we need mental health, because then insane people won't be out on the streets to buy those guns. And now that we can't seem to get gun regulation through, now that we're talking about mental health, they seem to oppose that too.
But you never saw the money come through after the massacre. You never saw the people, saying, okay, we need to get more services in the community. We need to have more dollars spent, because people need services, which you need professionals, you need medication, you need a place for people to live, like a group home. And of course, nobody wants a group home in their neighborhood.
Wow.
So,
and for those that don't know, and Senator Creed-Deeds, of course, was a very prominent person. He ran for governor. His son was in desperate need of psychiatric care. They took him to get care, and there was literally not a bed for him. And because there was not a bed for him, his son well, he was mentally ill, and he ended up attacking his father and killing himself.
So
and this is obviously just one high-profile example, but this goes on all the time in homes all across America.
Of course.
Tell me what Jennifer Wexton can do to make a difference.
Well, one, she understands the problem. She's a lawyer. She can come up with legislation. She can be there to vote for more money, to help get that money, work with the other senators, and I think most of the Democratic senators are in favor of putting more money into the system. Governor McDonald, before he left, said, there'll be more money, but you've got to vote for that money. You can put it in the budget, but the budget has to be voted on.
I want to talk about something else, because this is something that doesn't cost more money. It's absolutely free to the taxpayers of Virginia. Currently, under Republican leadership, the taxpayers of Virginia are required to subsidize poor people's health care in every state except Virginia, because even though the federal government has offered to pay for all the indigent citizens, the poor citizens of Virginia, to get free health care, they're going to pay every penny of it. Republicans said, we don't want your federal money. We want poor people just to lack health care. And what Governor McAuliffe has said is, this is silly. The federal government is giving us the money. We should take it for something called Medicaid expansion. I want to know, when we have to take a break, but when we come back from break, I want to talk about Medicaid expansion, because it sounds like this
and
formal
Jennifer's
term.
for it.
And Jennifer Wexton is for it. But basically what this is billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars from the federal government, financed by Virginia taxpayers, that either will go to Virginia citizens who need help, who need medical help, or will go outside the Commonwealth. And the Republican opponents actually want this money to go to Maryland and Delaware and not to go to Virginia citizens. And I don't understand that, but when we come back, I want to address that with you.
Okay.
Folks, if you want to call in, you can. Just pick up the phone and dial 571-749-1166, and you can join the show. We'll be right back right after this.
She's had more than a dozen fractures. And in the next few years, she faces 2 major surgeries to strengthen her fragile bones. She's only 10 years old. Most people don't worry about fragile bones until late in life. For those with osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bones are a concern throughout their lifetime. Find out how you can strengthen this child's future.
Diabetes is a killer. After I was diagnosed, I didn't feel sick, so I didn't listen to my doctor. Then it struck. I had a heart attack, then a stroke, and I was only 49.
Most people with diabetes also have high blood pressure and cholesterol, which can cause severe heart damage. In fact, 2 out of 3 people with diabetes die from heart disease or stroke.
Don't let diabetes destroy your life.
Call for your free diabetes survival guide. Choose to live.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Mark Levine. My guest is former Senator Emilie Miller, actually the first woman senator in the state of Virginia, from Northern Virginia, and she is endorsing Senator Jennifer Wexton. And the reason for that is because there's an election. Did you know that? An election Tuesday, January 21st. Most people in the Loudoun and Fairfax County districts, this is the former district of Senator Mark Herring, don't even know there's an election. So this is crucial, not just because we could elect Senator Jennifer Wexton, but because this will determine who controls the Virginia Senate. Will it be Governor McAuliffe have a Virginia Senate that he can work with to do things like the things I'm talking about with Senator Miller? Or will he have the party of no? The party that currently, the Republican Party, is refusing to accept tens of billions of dollars in federal aid so that poor people of Virginia can get health care, because Republicans believe that poor people should suffer. They actually believe that poverty is something that people, even if they get free health care, it should be rejected. Maybe because they don't like President Obama, maybe because they don't like poor people, maybe because people that are middle class and under don't vote for Republicans. I don't know. But this would include anyone living under the poverty line, and for some families, families of 4 or 5, it goes up to $30,000, $40,000. The point is, all this money is laying on the table, and the Republicans won't accept it. They won't take the free money, and instead they're requiring Virginians to subsidize people in other states. Now, Jennifer Wexton doesn't think that makes any sense. That's one of the reasons she's running for the Senate, and I know that you don't think that makes sense either.
It doesn't make sense. And by the way, just a little plug, if you want to vote, they are now having absentee voting.
That's important. Tell us about that.
So if you want to vote before Tuesday, January 21st, if you go to the electoral board website, they will tell you where you can vote and what hours.
And that would be for Fairfax County or Loudoun County?
Yes, Fairfax.
Both of them.
Both Fairfax County. You can look up Fairfax County. You can look up Loudoun County.
So just go to Google and type in Loudoun County Electoral Board or Fairfax County Electoral Board, and they'll tell you you can cast your vote early.
Yes.
In case you're not able to cast your vote.
That's right.
On Tuesday,
if you can't be here Tuesday to vote, don't lose your vote.
That's very important.
Now, on the Medicaid, let me just say, it seems to be a Virginia tradition that we don't always accept federal money. We have in the past let money go to other states, like education money, because Virginia doesn't want to be dependent upon the federal government. So I've seen this over the years. So this is no surprise to me that they don't want to accept the Medicaid fund.
It doesn't cost us a thing.
It doesn't cost us a thing. The money that our taxes bring to Virginia, that tax money will probably go to another state if we don't accept the Medicaid expansion. And Jennifer feels like Governor McAuliffe does, that this is a waste of our taxpayers' money, and it's morally right to help these people. And also it will bring jobs, because with Medicaid expansion, you're going to have practitioners, you're going to have people that work at hospitals, doctors' offices. So that will bring also jobs to Virginia, and the Republicans refuse to accept that.
I'll tell you something else that doesn't make sense to me. Right now, under federal law, if someone's in terrible need, if they have an emergency, they can go to the emergency room, and they go to the hospital. If they don't have insurance, well, the hospital has to pay for it. Fellow Virginia citizens have to pay for it. This would mean that actually Virginians do have to pay for the care, but all we have to do is say yes, just one word, yes, to the federal government, and now people can get ordinary care, and they can get paid, and they can get insurance companies to pay for these things rather than Virginia taxpayers. So it's interesting, if the Republicans raise your taxes, it's going to be to pay for some of these things because they're not accepting federal money. I'm wondering if we can get the clip. We have a resident humorist here.
Oh, okay.
Will Roberts, and he has talked about.
Is that like Will Rogers?
It's very much like Will Rogers.
Okay.
He considers himself a modern day Will Rogers, and he has given his own opinion on Medicaid expansion. Can we roll that tape, please?
Now, I hate to seem like a Pollyanna. That's a person who's always positive.
What a great day. You're a great person.
But it seems to me that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, seems to be gaining some steam.
All aboard!
I mean, isn't that the main component of good health? A positive, not negative attitude? A person can never climb that mountain if they say they can't.
Oh, gosh, I'm falling. Oh!
The dreams and hopes of all Americans having health care is finally happening. But after all, who wouldn't want their friends and their neighbors to be healthy and stay healthy? I'll tell you who. Republicans that are refusing that free program, Medicaid, to help their constituents who need it the most. Who was it that said, "Love thy neighbor"? Can't remember. All this political pompousness, is it because Republicans don't like helping people? Or is it because they just don't like this president? Republicans, if someone offers you a helping hand, take it. Don't use it to slap them in the face. Who knows, you might keep enough voters, people alive to attend your own funeral. It would seem to me that Republicans that don't like this Medicaid program must have their own affordable care program for the people called I Don't Really Care Health Care. I'm Will Roberts, and this is your Weekly Telegram.
So thank you, Will, for that. I always like to get a humorous take on it, but I never have understood. I understand that they fought against Obamacare, but now that it's here, and now that 25 states have decided to take the money, and 25 states haven't, and so basically Virginia has to subsidize the other states.
As I said, this is a Virginia tradition. This is not the first time it's happened, and I have never understood why we have turned down this money. But then, of course, this is Virginia, and it's a conservative state, and so that's one of the reasons they don't want to do it.
Let's talk about some other issues that Jennifer Wexton can make a difference on.
Transportation. Yeah,
transportation is crucial, particularly in Northern Virginia, because we sit in traffic a lot.
That's right. And I think, Governor McDonnell and Terry McAuliffe, when he was running, they sort of forged a partnership to say, let's get this transportation bill done. And it was bipartisan, and it was very much needed. And so now we have to make sure that that transportation bill is implemented.
And what does this do? Does it give us more lanes on the highways, more bridges being fixed? What kind of things?
I haven't read the bill, so I honestly don't know. It gives more money. Now, whether the money is going to go to the different localities or whether the VDOT is going to be able to
the Virginia Department of Transportation
to look and see what needs the most help.
But basically, if you're sitting in traffic, you're going to want transportation money.
Some people say, well, they don't want it to go to Metro. But as somebody who used Metro when I went into the consulting firm in D.C. for many years, I took Metro, and it was great. I could read
I'll tell you something else. Jennifer Wexton's district includes Dulles Airport.
That's right.
And some of this money, I know, is going for the Silver Line, which takes us to Dulles Airport.
And we'll take the people that are going to or from the airport to the airport or from the airport.
Which would be great, because you'd save a lot of money from parking. And I'll tell you something, every international city I've ever been in has a train from the airport to the central city. This will be great for Dulles, it'll be great for Fairfax.
It'll be an economic boom too, because it means even more growth around that area.
That's true, because it's not just to Dulles, but
all the stops along the way.
That's right.
And it will mean people who have to commute to work, whether it's DC or Tyson's or anything, will have a way and will get more cars off the road.
Now the Silver Line, I believe, is planned to go all the way to Leesburg. Is that right?
That I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. To Herndon at least. I know it's going pretty
quite far.
And that would include all these cities in the district that Jennifer will represent.
We also need transportation money for maintenance, because the highways we do have, the roads we have to be maintained. And so you'll see a lot of work on those and other highways, etc. So the transportation money is a start of getting maybe to some of our problems, but you've got to have people in the General Assembly who are going to say, let's implement this.
I want to talk about another issue, because the Republican legislature in the House of Delegates and even the Virginia Senate voted on a bill last session that required women who wanted to have abortions to have a metal rod. I don't know any way to say this delicately, so I'm not going to be delicate. A metal rod stuck into their vaginas against their will to do an ultrasound that's completely medically unnecessary, that they didn't want. It was a way to, I guess, torture women who wanted to have abortions. What is... I won't say senator, because I hope she will be, but what is Jennifer Wexton's position on women's right to choose?
Will work to get, the probe never took place because
it was stopped at the last minute.
But there's still that ultrasound bill, which of course does nothing for a woman who wants to have an abortion.
Just makes it very expensive. It makes it very
more
hard.
expensive. She's very much also these TARP regulations about women's health clinics where they have to be like an emergency room of a hospital. And what people don't understand are
Which is,
these
again, very expensive and unnecessary.
Yes, and these women's health clinics are not abortion mills, as the Republicans say. These health clinics help women who need mammograms, who need basic health services, women who can't afford them. And so abortions are such a low percentage of what they do. It is a woman's health clinic.
What other issues could because I know she's, for example, she's a prosecutor, so she's tough on crime. We're not going to have anyone that lets criminals out of jail. But at the same time, that must make her be very concerned about ethics. We know,
well,
for
that's
example,
what I was going to go into was ethics, because as you know,
Governor McDonnell may be indicted soon. We don't know.
I'm from Illinois, so having a governor indicted is nothing new to me.
But it's new to Virginia.
It's new to Virginia, and it's not something you should happen to your governor.
Right.
And I think being a lawyer, being a woman, because I think women sometimes we considered more ethical. I think that this has brought in an issue that the General Assembly's taken up, but never has completely embraced. And now,
so this is the chance to basically stop the pay-to-play atmosphere in Richmond.
And she's going to be someone who's going to be there to vote for these ethics changes. And again, we've got to remember, she as a senator will have a vote. And all these issues, unless someone votes for the issues we care about, they're never going to take place.
So again, and she is the deciding vote. When the elections ended, there were 20 Republicans and 19 Democrats. If the Republicans get a 21st vote, they control the Senate. If the Democrats get a 20th vote, because we have the Lieutenant Governor's seat with Ralph Northam, the Democrats control the Virginia Senate. So what's amazing is the last special election, 14% turned out. 1 in 7 voters turned out. 6 in 7 stayed home, and it was a 9-vote difference. They're still challenging it. That means that if you're listening to my voice right now, your vote will count more than ever. Honestly, you have no excuse not to get to the polls and vote. Tuesday, January 21st, we suggest you vote for Jennifer Wexton because she's a Democrat. She'll support these democratic values, someone who cares about all of Virginia, someone who will take the federal money sitting on the table and use it for Virginians rather than requiring Virginians to subsidize out-of-state taxpayers. Please, whoever you want to vote for, get to the polls Tuesday, January 21st.
Or absentee vote.
Or absentee vote by going to Loudoun Electoral Board or Fairfax Electoral Board. Just Google it. Check in. You have no excuse not to vote. Tuesday, January 21st election, Loudoun and Fairfax County. I want to thank former Senator Miller very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to have talked about Jennifer.
I really do appreciate it. Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. Again, I appreciate your coming here. Remember, January 21st, there is an election. It's Tuesday. I just want to show you quickly who Jennifer Wexton is, and then we'll move on to the second part of the program. So this is Jennifer Wexton. Again, she's running January 21st, Tuesday. There is a special election, and we encourage you to vote for her.
Another by an intruder who forced his way in through her bedroom window. And for so many, traumatized again by facing the criminal in court. I'm Jennifer Wexton, and as a prosecutor, I put violent offenders in prison. In the Virginia Senate, I'll fight just as hard against Tea Party Republicans who would take away a woman's health care and her right to choose, even in cases of rape and incest. On Election Day, help me stand up for her.
Again, that's Jennifer Wexton. There is an election Tuesday, January 21st. For voters of Loudoun and Fairfax County, do not miss your chance to really determine the course of Virginia. Remember, it was just last year that the Virginia Senate passed a bill that initially, before there was a lot of outcry, required the state to, I don't know how else to say it, to insert a foreign object inside a woman against her will. Some would call that rape itself. Jennifer Wexton would stop this nonsense in the legislature. Please vote for her.